we're live. So, good morning, everyone. And welcome to the Crypto Hours. Today is Friday, the 11th of April. Next week, if I remember correctly, it's Good Friday. So if that's correct, I probably won't be running a session next week, because everybody should be spending time with our families and enjoying and going to the beach and everything else. Okay, so we'll probably miss that next Friday. But let's go into this week. So this week, the plan for today, we have a look at the craziness that's going on in the markets very briefly. And then we'll carry on the demonstration we're doing last week with Jonathan. So we carried on an example of how we can execute a contract directly on the blockchain, and how that can be an improvement on the current ways of doing business. So a really practical way of what we can do, what we can use the blockchain for. Okay, let me go and share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen? Just confirm. Yeah, perfect. All right, so if we just have a look at the economic calendar. So I say this week has been fairly light in terms of kind of economic announcements. As you can see, normally the important economic announcements are marked in red. So we've had the interest rates in New Zealand. So for those of you that live in New Zealand, will be happy that they've gone down slightly from 3.75 to 3.5%. And then the main announcement has been the inflation announcement in the US. Okay, so the CPI, consumer price inflation, continue to trend down, even lower than expected. So went from 2.8% to 2.4%. Now that is, between other things, is one of the things that also contributed to the big move down in the dollar value this week, because obviously when the inflation goes down, it means that there is less need of the Fed to be restricted. So there is a higher chance that they will lower interest rates, because the inflation is not a problem anymore. It's one of the things that they look at. Today, so we should have had an announcement from the UK. Let's just refresh the page. So we had the kind of GDP. This is just month by month announcement that it's higher than expected. So we kind of avoided the kind of like going into a recession. So we like 0.5% increase by month, but we don't have quarterly figures, I don't believe. Let me just double check on this other economic calendar. Refresh. This is a little bit more detailed. GDP month to month, GDP 20 months average. GDP year on year. Okay. So we've gone from 1.2% to 1.4%, so higher than expected. It was expected to drop to 0.9%. It's actually, I don't know how, but it's gone up slightly. So let's go back to this. So nothing much else to talk about. Economic announcement apart from today is that producer price inflation will be announced at 8:30 Eastern in the US. Next week, again, what do we have in store for us? So again, more inflation figures from Canada, retail sales in the US, interest rates in Canada. We'll see, they're expected to stay the same. And then again, interest rates in Europe that are expected to come down by another quarter of a percentage point. Okay, so that's mainly next week you got Canada Canada and the euro area reporting on interest rate decisions mainly, and then a few economic announcements like retail sales, inflation figures from and employment figures from a few countries, but nothing major. And as you can see, Friday gonna be like a pretty much like a bank holiday across the world. Okay, now a couple of things. Because of the craziness, everything now at the moment, the market are dominated by uncertainty, and we might be observing the biggest case of insider trading ever seen in the world. Okay, which is where the president of the United States can move the markets by 10% with the strength of a tweet. It's there to think of, okay, easy pre-warning market participant as well that is going to make certain announcements. So that's it's a real seeing the disregard for rules and for the importance of his role that we are seeing, we could well be seeing in a market manipulation on massive scale. Okay, so be careful, generally, whatever you do. Okay, but let's see what could be happening in the really near future. So at the moment, we have the president of the United States that wants to lower interest rates. We got the Fed that I think not yet. We're not quite sure we need to do that yet. So let's wait and see. Now, who's going to blink first? Is it the president or the Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed? Now, from the point of view of the Fed, although things have got bad, and we look here at the swap rates for they have got to increase. So this chart will shows you pretty much the cost of borrowing in a way, and you can see that recently has gone up dramatically, but not yet at the level where the Fed will start worrying, which is here. Okay, so this is where above this red line pretty much is where the credit pretty much freezes, in the sense that it's a prohibitive price for businesses and consumers, obviously, but especially for businesses, because they cannot borrow at these prices to invest for the future. Okay, so this is where the Fed really worries with levels that are above this, and when it starts taking taking action, and in this case, the action will be kind of like lower interest rates. And the job figures as well are not worrying enough for the Fed right now. So what's the thing that could make the Fed blink? Will be going into a job market deteriorating, and and started pointing down to a point where we're seeing kind of the uncertainty in the market growing, and especially the credit markets freezing pretty much. That will cause them to act. So keep an eye on this kind of like a chart and see if it can move above a level where we would be really worrying for the Fed. From the point of view of Trump, instead, the thing that could make him blink is going into a full-scale recession. Okay, now this is how the Fed sees interest rates. Okay, so from where we are, and we see them, by the way, jump in. So this jump from 4.3 to 4.8% in just a few days in the markets. But this is how the Feds look the progression of interest rates. So between now and a year from now, in March 2026, sees interest rates coming down by 1.4% from about where we are now, we're about 4.25 to about 2.997. Okay, so and even here, where it shows that the bottom, so it looks like at the moment they have moved the way they see the future, long-term future, and they move the long interest rates, like equilibrium interest rates, to about 3%. Okay, now if we hit a full-scale recession, the market could probably demand for interest rates to go well below that and go around the 2% mark again. That could happen, is definitely a possibility. Okay, what will really happen, we will need to keep watching. But it's significant though that there is a long way to go. So they got some levers to action, let's say from where we are now to to stimulate the economy. So they got dry powder that they can use. Okay, and this is the other chart I wanted to show you. So this is a P ratio for the S&P 500. So all we've done now with the drop that we've had in the market, we are simply gone back to what is normal. So it's been no panic yet. We're not in the kind of red zone yet, like we saw in 2016, 2018, and 2020. Okay, we're not in that. So we haven't seen anything yet, really. If we are to have a full-scale recession, then we could see something similar, and that could mean now we are levels. This week we've gone down a little bit more. Levels are about 18.2, 18.3 in the PE ratio. We could go back down to between 14 and 16. Okay, that will mean an extra 20% drop in the S&P 500. Okay, so it's serious stuff. But what would that mean for us at the moment? For an investor, is to keep your powders dry and to have some cash sitting on the side. Okay, because let me just go back to the S&P. Yeah, here. No, I didn't know it was the other chart. Just give me a second. Okay. So this is you can see this is a monthly chart of the S&P 500. Okay. So the previous historic high was up here about 4,800. Do you see how the price pretty much bounced already off the previous high? Precisely. Now, if we drop another 15-20% from here, it will bring us down into this range, which is, by the way, this is a classic structure of demand. Is a structure of demand, and whatever we end up between 15 and 20% will be within this range. Okay, so these are monthly candles, so they are very they're very long. You can refine this. I mean, look on smaller time frame, but I wouldn't, if the price got back there, this is where I would be buying. Okay, this area around 4,500. It would be my preferred place to buy. So I wouldn't wait for price to go right down or price to start turning, because as you can see, price can move very, very quickly. Just one tweet from Donald Trump caused the market the other day to jump up about 10%. Okay. So the one thing I wanted to tell you though is that if price go back here, buying is the last thing that you would want to do. You would be panicking at that stage, okay, and be starting to look, okay, where can I learn to forage somewhere, because I don't have time, I don't have money to buy my groceries. So honestly, this is the last thing you will feel that it's right to doing, because all around you, you'll have panic messages coming out from the news, from everybody selling, sell everything, and buy gold, or things like that. But that is exactly the time to buy. So if you have some cash available, reserve it from a moment of panic, because if it comes, it might not come, but if it comes, that would be the ideal time to buy, similar to what we saw in 2020 ready and 2022. So you're saying this is nothing unusual. 2020, 35% drop, 2022, 27% drop. What are we down now? So far, we've had a 21% drop. So if we went as down as we did in 2022, this is where it will take us, 4,500. Okay, this is 27% drop between 4,004, 4,005. 35% will take us down to the slightly below this range to about 4,000. Now, 4,000, it will feel like the world is ending. It won't, but it will feel like the world is ending. Okay. Now, obviously, if we're talking about crypto, Bitcoin as well, it's got a high correlation with the stock market. So the one thing that we have seen, which is pleasant to see in a way, in all the chaos, is this point here. This is the relative strength correlation between the Bitcoin and the S&P 500. So from the beginning of March, they both gone down, but Bitcoin has shown more strength than the stock market in comparison. Okay, and if you can see here, probably better if I bring up the S&P 500. Okay. So if you see, this is what happened to the relationship between S&P 500 and Bitcoin, and this is what happened in the same time to the S&P 500 mark. And you can go and compare it. So where are we now? So you can see the S&P 500 at this point has dropped like 5%, you know, from this point here. And in comparison, Bitcoin's dropped to 2.9%. So the relation, so Bitcoin basically is holding quite well, but that is compared to the stock prices. Okay, so if the stock market is going down some more, Bitcoin will go down as well, maybe not as much. So where could that take us? At the moment, this range is still holding strong. Okay, so this is the area that I had marked up as a good price to buy Bitcoin, and so far it's worked. And the 11th of March when it touched, and it worked again in the last few days. So we're going back. You know, hasn't been a huge jump, but we've gone from 77. So we went down as far as 70, 74.5. Then we recovered to 83 at the moment. We're standing at 81, 81.3. So it's still guys, it's not something to be sniffed at, because we are talking even now, that's 5%. Okay, 5% increase. This is the point of buying value. So if you find a good place where you would be happy to buy because you think at those ranges the price is good, you can get paid, let's say, very quickly. Okay, because this is the same day pretty much at the market. So you could have entered here like and hold it for a couple of days, but if you went on the retest here, in one day you could have made 12%. So things can happen very, very quickly. So at the moment, this is still holding. Was this, if this fails, then the other point where we'd be looking, we'll be looking here to get to the end of this range, which will be between 69 and 66. Okay, so that's the next place where we could get down to if this gets broken. Okay, and also one thing the reason why this could be interesting and maybe, so the worst I can think of for me would be going as far as that, okay? Kind of the low 60s. Because for the simple reason, this is the previous all-time high. So a good demand zone below this point is probably where I would be extremely happy to buy. And this is the area that caused the market to test this the last time when we left. So for me, this would be yeah, if I could choose a place where I would like put most of my capital that I still got available to invest in Bitcoin I wanted to buy, it would probably be around there. Okay. All right. So, any questions about this? Because I said I didn't want to spend too much time today because I want to give more time to Jonathan for the demonstration. So, but are there any questions about what we've been covering so far? No, everything is clear. No, this is good. I mean, if it's clear, it's good. It means I'm doing my work well. Okay, fantastic. All right. So if there are no questions, let me just double check in the chat box. If there are no question in the chat box. So let's get down to the second part then of the session. If Jonathan, you ready?
Yes.
Fantastic. So today we carry on the discussion that we were having last week about, how to start looking at things in real life. So how do you use the blockchain in real life? And we're looking at the kind of contract. You found, I remember in our conversation, you find a better solution than what we were talking last week, which we're going to demonstrate now. So go ahead. Mike is yours.
So last week we were talking about engaging in an escrow swap peer-to-peer. If you wanted to imagine it was a tokenized house or something like that, you could actually swap it with another investor rather than going through some kind of third party. Um, well, what I'd forgotten was that actually on Cardano, you can even do a less complicated blockchain transaction than engaging with a smart contract. Because in the top tier of Cardano, you've got this possibility for an atomic swap. So within one transaction, just formed in on the layer one of the blockchain, you can actually swap between two wallets in a single transaction. So if you form a transaction where one party's locking their asset into it, another party's locking their asset into it, then we can actually carry out that swap without actually sending it into a smart contract even at all. And either party can execute the contract once both parties have put their assets in, and there's no need to have a third party involved. So, as a demo, Luke and I thought we'd actually do a swap. So, one of my development teams that I'm friends with has built an application on Cardano. It's beta, so it's a demonstration rather than a full-blown application yet, although it's looking pretty slick. There's some bugs around, but we'll demonstrate it in that. So this app is called Demu.pro, DEMU, and it's like a jukebox app. So you can store you can buy and store your music in your wallet. So you imagine someone comes to you and says, "Oh, what book are you reading on Amazon Kindle? That looks interesting. Can I buy it from you?" It's like, uh, well, can I buy an Amazon Kindle book? Can I pass it on to somebody else? And the answer is no, you can't. It's locked to your account. If you stop paying for your Amazon account, you lose access to your Amazon books.
That's another conversation, Jonathan, but there are ways of doing that.
So on the blockchain, instead, you can actually have the rights to digital assets, whether they're books or music or property or whatever, sitting in your wallet, your sovereign wallet. And if you choose to send that on to your children as an inheritance or to your friend to settle a bet, you can do that. So in this instance, I'm going to browse this jukebox, and I can see in my library I've got one album. For some reason, the album art's not loading at the moment, but I've got this connected to my wallet, and so I have the rights to play this music. I don't know if you can hear that. So it's a nice classical album. However, on the homepage, I've noticed that there's a band called Young Man Winter, who I'm a great fan of, and I'd love to get hold of their album. I just don't have AT-ADA at the moment. However, I do have in my wallet um, some Gimbal tokens, and so I know Luca's got this album in his wallet. Uh, So I'm gonna arrange with Luca. We're gonna do a peer-to-peer swap involving no third parties, or I'm gonna buy the album from him, not at the store price of 80 ADA. I'm gonna buy it for 1,000 gimbal tokens. You up for that, Luca? Will you trade? Look,
I'm up for it. Come on, let's do
it's
it.
1,000 gimbal tokens. Okay, cool. So
And I have to tell everybody that I've never done this before either. So can I, Jonathan, will, if I can do it, you can as well. Okay.
exactly. And I've never completed a swap either in using this platform. So now we're going to go to our peer-to-peer atomic swap platform on Cardano. And if you, Luca, go to atomic-swap, actually, I'll send you the link in a minute.
Yeah.
Because it'll be easier once it's got connected. So in this app, I can now connect. Now, get the bits out of the way. I can connect my wallet. So I'm going to choose the Eternal wallet, which is the one I'm currently using. And once I've connected the wallet, you can see it's picked up a bit of my receive address and so forth. And I can add an asset into it. So I've just agreed with Luca on a Zoom chat in front of the whole world that I'm going to swap. I'm going to buy the album that he's got in his wallet, Young Man Winter's album, for 1,000 gimbal tokens. So I'm going to search for my gimbal tokens. There we go. I'm going to send 1,000 over to Luca. Let's put a 0.1 on the end. There we go, take that off. So I'm going to update that. And this is me forming my half of the transaction. So I've added the assets I want. We've agreed. I'm gonna lock those into this transaction. The transaction is not on chain or anything, so nothing's happened yet. But you can see it's actually given me a my half of the contract, of the transaction is now locked. I can't sign this transaction yet, but I can copy the invite link and send this over to Luca in the chat. So I'm doing this in the that doesn't look like the correct link. Let's try again. Oh no, okay, maybe it is. So Luca, if you click that link.
Okay, where is that? Now you need to post it in the chat. Oh, there we are.
Should
Okay.
come up in the Zoom chat. There we go.
Okay. Connect your wallet. Like Eternal as well.
So now Luca is connecting his wallet to the same app.
Yeah, now, what's happened?
Has it just come up with a blank screen?
Add assets. Wait a second. Add asset. Okay. So what was the asset? How do I find the asset here? What's do you remember what it was called?
Just checking because I thought that it should have picked up the URL. Yeah, it might be that you need to actually scan that QR code, which will be tricky from your desktop. Some reason the link's not picked up the this other half of the transaction.
So it wouldn't copy from that link.
So when you visit that link,
because it's kind of like I did connect it. They're just asking me to add an asset, and I just think that's I've got like hundreds of assets on my
so you should be able to search.
Yeah, but what's it called? What's it
For
called?
young man winter.
Young Man Winter. There we go. Okay, so let's I've got to lock it as well. Okay. So it's locked on my side too.
No, I think we should have had the same transaction ID stored in here there. So I suspect that it's not picked up the transaction.
Let me try with my link. I'm trying to do the opposite thing. Let's see if that works.
See if you've got a link.
Where's the channel?
There we go. So that's a properly formed link. So I can take that link now, open it in my session.
Must unlock, we must connect their wallet. Okay. Unlock. So I've unlocked now. Now I've got to wait for you to connect your.
So I'll add my gimbal tokens.
Mhm.
Lock my half. Is that updated on your end now?
Yeah, just a second. Let me try and just refresh the page. No, it's happened. No, refresh the page. No, it disappeared. It disconnected my wallet.
Try visiting that link again that you sent me.
Mm. As you can see, guys, it's not nothing is as simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. What I did was I used the test mode, but that was kind of cheating. So if we can get it to work with real wallets, that'd be better demo.
Okay, I've added my asset again.
So when you visited that link, it still didn't show my locked asset on your side, on my side.
No, so I've got my I've gone back to the link that I sent you, and I've I've put my Young Man Winter LP and I've locked it.
I think that we're not able to connect session to session.
Okay, that's disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just saying waiting for the state of my trade connection, but it's not actually talking.
But before you gave me a message, I say you have to unlock and wait for you to load your asset as well.
Yeah.
But you can, have you loaded your asset?
I'll try reloading it again. But it's giving me the same message, cannot connect up here. So we may have to demo it just in the test mode again.
Okay.
So that's a shame. Okay, well, let's go here. So I'll add my asset. $1,008 gimbal tokens. I'll lock that into this half of the transaction. And then in test mode, he'll give me a new tab. And I can see now that that gimbal tokens are locked in on that half. So this is what Luca would be seeing on his screen. And then he can connect to the wallet. He can add the asset he wants to send. So if I look for that classic album, so instead of the Young Men Winter album, which is in Luca's wallet, which we can't seem to connect to at the moment.
It says the server is down, so the server is down. So it's a problem with the site.
Yeah. So this is the problem and the beauty with blockchain is that you can have decentralized applications and their user interface still needs hosting somewhere. And so when the user interface goes down, then you can't access that functionality. You can still form the transactions manually yourself. Oh, it's back up again, and carry it out. But yeah, there are downsides. And so in the whole space ecosystem, there are people who are looking at ways of bringing resiliency to the user interfaces as well, whether that's wallets or apps or anything. So now you would see that I've got one half of the transactions got the album in, the Dingy Classics album. The other half has got the 1,000 gimbal tokens. Both parties have locked both sides of that transaction. And I think what you could actually do is form this transaction, download it, and execute it independently in your wallet. But that kind of spoils the demo. So here, if the surface was up, we would just click that sign button, and the transaction will actually then prompt us to sign it with our wallets. Luca on his machine would get the same prompt to sign with his wallet. And then once that transaction's been signed by both parties, either of us could actually submit that to the blockchain, and the assets would swap between the wallets automatically, and we could track it on chain. So that was the goal.
Try this again for a second. Try the link that I reposted on there, because it now seems to be that the server is up. Maybe we can do it.
Okay, let try it.
Yeah, you can see that.
Got the album in.
Yeah.
We're going to
Or
be
just a temporary issue.
perhaps, yeah. Let's try adding my gimbal tokens.
We're lucky on my side now. Wait a second, let me lock. Okay, so it's locked.
Okay, now we can both see the green sign button. Is that right, Luca?
Mhm.
So let's get our signing credentials.
Okay, so now it's kind of like I go disconnected to my ledger as well.
Okay, yes. So Luca's using a hardware wallet. Oops. And I'm using a hot wallet. So Eternal is a hot wallet. And it's prompted me to sign the transaction. It's a little small. I can't actually span that window. But I put in my spending passphrase. Sign that transaction. And then I'm just now sitting waiting for Luca to sign his side of the transaction. And then it will be executed online. And so in this instance, we're using a user interface that has been built for us to carry out the swap. But actually, there are only two wallets involved. There are no smart contracts. There's no application that we're sending our assets into. This is just forming the description of the transaction. We sign it with our wallets, and then it executes online on chain. Give us a transaction ID. Have you signed at your end now?
I have, but it's there's a problem. So there's a unknown decimal as a fingerprint. I can't.
You can't sign with yours.
No.
Right. So that's perhaps the hardware wallet complexity.
Could be because I want to sign the transaction on Ledger because I've got Eternal, but it's connected to Ledger.
Yeah. And I remember we were having issues with multi-signature.
Yeah, it doesn't let me go, complete the transaction.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But you can see the
what was it? Sign. If I click on sign, it should be not what a user declined. Let me try again. Let's see if that.
one more sign at Luca's end.
No, it just doesn't fail to execute.
Same again.
My ledger is frozen.
Okay. But I think you get the idea. You get the concept.
Yeah.
And actually, this could be any asset that Luca holds and I hold. We could carry out any combination of assets we want to swap over. And it's not involving any third parties, not involving banking systems or settlement systems. This is purely directly me and Luca interacting on the blockchain.
Unfortunately, I can't complete this.
Yeah, shame. Offer rejected. He's not selling me his album. That's a shame. I'll find some other way to bribe you later.
No, Kendrick, it's a very expensive album. I can't sell it at that price.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
So
have to send
yeah.
it back to you later. Normal way.
So whether it's a digital asset like an album we were trying to swap, or a book or something like that, all of these are potential, just simple small assets that we can get involved in swapping peer to peer. And you're actually taking back ownership then of these digital assets that we're enjoying. So if you have a Spotify subscription, you stop paying for it, you lose access to your Spotify tracks. If you have a Kindle, you lose access to your books. So this is the problem we have with what's called Web 2. And when we attach it then to the blockchain, it becomes Web 3, and suddenly we have ownership of all these assets again. We get back our sovereignty. Again, I'm a 90s child. All my music was collected in the 80s and 90s, sitting in CDs and vinyl on my shelf. And that's now being recreated with actually digital assets sitting in my own wallet, my own record collection, as opposed to yeah, being hosted on a cloud server where I lose access if I don't pay my subscription.
Yeah, but
So,
just to clarify to everybody, so the reason why this is so important is because we're taking out the third parties here. And there's a way of doing kind of, this can be any transaction. I mean, you could be exchanging a house, as you say, a car or anything like that that's represented by this. But it's done in a way that's secure because you can see that the other person has got what you have agreed to exchange, and the transaction doesn't go through until both parties have signed and have agreed to transfer ownership of their side of the deal. And you don't need a dealer in the middle. You don't need a bank. You don't need a solicitor. You don't need. It's just like two people between them that can they can complete the contract in a safe and secure way, which is incredible. Yeah, obviously there are going to be glitches like this one when there are new ways of doing things. And if you try doing things like at the weekend, I was doing. I don't know if I told you guys that a couple of months ago I bought a BIM node token. So to just claim the token and delegate it to like a validator like Jonathan, just Jonathan is for Cardano, there is somebody that does the same work for BIM. It took me a good couple of hours. And in the end, so I had to go into all the settings for MetaMask and kind of like, why this transaction wasn't going through. In the end, it was just like a simple slider that you switch from one side to the other, and then the transaction went through. But just like there's nobody that tells you how to do these things. You have to kind of like a trial and error sometimes. And because I insist in doing things through my ledger because I want things to be secure. Then there is an extra complexity with that. But that's the thing. We are breaking new ground. We are going to like a new era where we take responsibility for the things we do. And sometimes it can be frustrating. Yes, it can be very, very frustrating sometimes. Just deciding where it is that settings that we need to, why is Binance not doing what we wanted to do, like we were doing last night? I was just trying to create an API key on a sub account, and it just like it was all complicated all of a sudden. But it's refreshing when you can do it because then you know how to do things yourself. You don't have to rely on anybody to do it for you. And this is just one example, but it's the start of it. I don't know if you guys read about Dubai. So Dubai is going to connect let's say I don't know what it's called in Dubai, but it's like the equivalent of the land registry to the blockchain. So that transaction, property transaction can be executed on the blockchain. So we are entering that kind of world. It is possible. Obviously, you need the will of the authorities as well to play. But these things are now possible. So there are countries in the world like Dubai where these things are happening. Whether tomorrow or next year or in 5 years is going to be happening in the UK or in Switzerland or in the US, we don't know. But definitely now the technology is there. So we and the way these things happen, like what happened with the internet, first of all it starts slow and then the growth is exponential. Once you can see, I think at the end of the day, business moves because of cost.
Mm.
Once you can see that there is things that you can do that are cheaper and do the same things that you do today or even better, then it's just like water flows to downstream. Just with the force the force of gravity. And it's the same thing with business. So the moment that there are these things become easy to do and businesses start using it because, like now, why XRP is talked about so much, because you want to transfer $1 billion, try doing it through the banking system and see how much it will cost you. You do it in Bitcoin and it will cost you maybe $10. And the same thing. So and the speed is of another level as well. So you can be secure. You can have a secure transaction within, whatever it takes in Bitcoin to have a complete transaction. An hour maybe 40 minutes to have a secure transaction on Bitcoin, compared to whatever 2, 3, 4 days to do the same thing using the banking system and the SWIFT system. It's just not. It's a simple reason of ease of doing things and cost of transactions at the end of the day. Apart from all the other issues like it being decentralized and safety and finality and all those things. But at the end of the day, the business, the way things move are because of business reasons. So yeah, it's exciting. And I think, Jonathan, I think we should keep an eye on these things. And again, when there is like something new that comes and we can demonstrate, I think we'll bring it to you guys as well, because I think it's important. It's important to do things and take responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a guy called Fallen Icarus who's building out these peer-to-peer tools. Because again, you were saying that about business, it goes for efficiency and speed. And often they will try and capture markets. So,
Mm.
it's an inherent nature of a business to try and capture the market and be exclusive. Whereas actually the blockchain is coming at it from a different way. So all the apps we've got out there at the moment, they've tried to capture the market. So MinSwap's got the most liquidity of all the providers out on the blockchain.
Yeah.
But actually, with a peer-to-peer setup, there's no reason why anybody should have ownership of or dominate any particular segment. It can be fully decentralized. It can be fully peer-to-peer, and that's where we're going. So yeah, that I'm looking forward to that suite of tools getting more polished, where actually you install some software on your computer and then you can form these transactions, very complex ones. So I want to do a trade on MinSwap for this token to this token. I want to send my LP to Luca. I want to pay for my utility bills, all form it into one transaction, submit it on chain, and all those go off, and it costs me 10p or something to that, 10 cents to do that, and I've settled my bills for the month. And that's where actually we can have all these services and businesses interacting for extremely low cost, instantaneous, which is the massive driver to get away from our current financial system, where you're not, you've got a settlement layer and checks and balances not letting you pay for things that, or take money out of your own account and pay people in because they happen to some geopolitical line has changed because of some personality in power fell out with some other personality in power. Why should that affect us who are been interacting and working with each other for years? So yeah, it's a whole new system that's coming, which is great.
The thing, yeah, the thing is now, as well, when you're talking about geopolitical things, like all these systems, talking about tariffs and talking about one thing or another, and competition in between countries, or you can't trade with that country, you can trade with this. So now, with cryptocurrency, the barriers don't mean anything anymore. You can't stop somebody selling Bitcoin to somebody in Iran or in Russia or anywhere else that is not desirable, or in North Korea. And this is, it is one of the features of cryptocurrency, say, kind of like establishing free markets. And free markets mean free. whether we like it or not, it's free. And there are, in obviously I'm an exponent of the Austrian School of Economics that espouses the market power, the free market economy. And that at the end of the day, when you think the easiest way I can put it for you is that would you rather, you're out for the day and you're hungry, you want to stop for lunch. Would you rather go to a place where you can buy something that you like, or would you like somebody else that you don't know, that doesn't know you at all, doesn't know what your likes and dislikes are, buy a lunch for you? You spend the same money, so the same money doesn't come into the equation. So it's like, do you rather make the decision and buy what you want, or would you rather somebody else make the decision for you? When you put it like that, and somebody could buy maybe something that you absolutely hate, they've got like a completely different dietary choices than you do. And at the end of the day, this is what happens with the like modern economy, is that we're taking the money from the public, we're recycling, and then the government is making a decision for you on what's good for you. And what causes, and so this is serious because in the economy, it causes a misplacement of funds because funds don't go where people want them to go. There is like a disconnect somewhere. So the capital is not doing the work which it's supposed to do, which it would do if it's free to go wherever it wants. And we could be in a much better world if we lived in a kind of like free market economy with obviously some constraints that we can think to make things safe. But I'm more of a, let's put it that way, can be defined as like an economist. So in a way, anarchy and economics go well together with a free market. And if you see what's happening in Argentina right now, this is exactly the application of those concepts in a real country. So go and find out what's happened to the Argentinian economy, or what happened to countries like Paraguay. They were completely self-sufficient, and in a way they were broken to be able to accept external trade, where they didn't need to. They didn't need an external trade because they were self-sufficient, but they were forced in a way to to borrow once their economy was broken. And these are things that hurt because there are different ways of doing things that we don't need to follow somebody else's idea of life. We can arrange our own, and whether it's far right or it's communism, it's a right that we should have ourselves to decide, and not somebody else do it for us. Eric, wait, do you want to ask something?
Yeah, what does the economist say about the present situation with America? Now America is playing with everybody, and now everybody's turning to China. And China can't sell their things anymore in America, and they will flock Europe, and partly without barriers.
We'll see what happens. So nobody knows at the moment. I mean, what I think and what most people seem to think, this is just a negotiation tactic. But I kind of like, if they want to become more self-sufficient and bring industry back to the US, that's fine. But they also got to be ready to paying £5,000-6,000 for an iPhone instead of $1,000 and things like that. So we'll see what happens. The American economy is not ready right now to be self-sufficient. It's a process that might take 4 or 5 years. Even if they put all the resources in a kind of like a war economy kind of resources, it's more likely that they are trying to just renegotiate the the current ways of doing trade with their partners, so that it's more like beneficial to them. So they're trying to flex their muscles. I mean, this is this is what it looks like. Whether it be successful at that or not, it's the usual thing of like playground bullies. They're fine getting what they want until somebody stands up to them. And we've seen now a situation where they're coming against some people that can play hardball with them, like Mark Carney in Canada, like Ursula von der Leyen in Europe. These are not people that get bullied easily. Okay, and so we'll see what happens. Probably like what always seems to happen in these cases is that there is some sort of like agreement to lessen the pain for everybody, because I don't think whoever wins this battle, I think at the end of the day I find it is like a lose-lose situation. So I don't think it would help anybody to get into an extended economic fight. So I expect in the next few weeks or months of kind of different agreements being made. Even Donald Trump said it. What happened during the week is that the market reacted by about 10% jump, simply because he said that they were like pausing the tariffs for 90 days to the countries that hadn't retaliated. Okay, so they're saying basically just like, you be a good boy and take it laying down, I will be good to you. So this is the translation in spoken English, okay, which is basically just being a bully. So we'll see what happens, but I expect now the teams to start talking to each other to reach agreements. That's because if the other side, the other possibility is that we go into an extended change of the way of doing things that brings us back like 40-50 years to how we used to do things, and the economy will take a while to readapt to a new ways of doing things if that's what they want to do. All right, guys, need to close the call now because I've got meetings starting straight away. So I remind you always that the times for these sessions are 9 a.m. UK time, whatever time it is in your country, because daylight saving time is now coming into effect. So the time in your country might have changed, but the UK time stays the same. So do check the time before joining, because I know that a few of you have come right now the last minute. I don't know if you were expecting it to start beginning now, but it's just the end of it. So I would say next week is a Good Friday, so we won't do a session next week. So I will see you back in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so bye everybody. Have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic Easter break.
Thanks very much,